Hot Rodders, it's Kent here with the Backyard Coupe. So I'm going to start construction on the Backyard Coupe. You can see the completed one in the background and the project one in the foreground. You can see the steel tubing structure. It's attached to the floor. The tubing is inch and a quarter square tubing with 1/16 wall, and then the firewall, or sorry, the cowl at the front is made up of 1 inch square tubing, same thickness, 1/16 wall. So yeah, we're going to get started on assembling some of the profile pieces, I call them. You can see the one piece there that's already installed. These wood pieces give the car its shape because the car is constructed out of wood attached to the steel structure. So yeah, let's proceed with some of the profile pieces. Those I call the roof header pieces. Hey Hot Rodders, it's Kent here again with the Backyard Coupe. So we're gonna assemble some of the wood profile pieces on the steel structure. You can see the one roof header is on there, on the driver's side there. So I'm going to go put the other roof header on the passenger side. And they are fastened with 1/4 inch machine screws. And then the wood pieces have T-nuts in them, so that they fasten very securely, and there's no chance of, like if using a wood screw, you could strip it out or something like that, or vibrate it loose. But the machine screws and the T-nuts work very good to hold the pieces secure to the steel structure. So I'm just going to go fasten that other one on there, and then we'll go from there. I'm just going to zoom in here a little bit. Okay, so this is the other profile piece, the roof header, and it's got a notch in it where it sits on and is attached to the tubing, and then you can see the radius that gives the roof line its shape. So let's go and attach that now. It's got three 3/4 inch machine screws, and they attach to these T-nuts that I've got installed on there. The actual assembly, I'm going to be using lock washers on these also, but for now, just for demonstration purposes, I'm just using the machine screws. Okay, so that's got that other roof header piece attached. And now we're going to go back and we're going to attach the quarter window pieces. I'm going to show you what those look like. So these are the quarter window pieces, and they fit right behind the roof header pieces. Just like so. So these pieces are made the same way as the roof header pieces. They're 3/4 inch plywood laminated together, 3 pieces. And they've got an edge there where they fit on the steel tubing. You can see the radius that gives the car some of its shape. And this one has 5 T-nuts that hold it on. So let's go and attach this piece to the steel structure, and then we'll see how the car starts to take a little more shape. Okay, I'm just going to give a little shot of the back side on that quarter window to let you see how it gets attached to the structure of the car. So you can see it gets attached to the tubing. To the tubing right here. With 3 screws, and then it's got a little plate on the bottom that's welded to the tubing. It fits a little different on the bottom side, and then it's got two machine screws that attach there. So I'm just going to finish attaching the screws to that quarter window, and then I'll go around and do the same on the other side. And then after that we will attach the quarter panels You can see one of them laying there, and we'll also attach the firewall. Okay, so now we got both quarter windows installed. And the two roof header pieces. So now we're going to fit the quarter panels onto the structure. And I'll just give you a little close-up and show you where they attach to. So on the rear of the structure, I've got a piece of 1/8 inch flat bar welded to the back of it with 4 holes, 1/4 inch holes, and then the quarter panel has some T-nuts. And I'll just show you what that looks like on the inside. So that quarter panel is 1/2 inch thick on the main part of it, and then on the top edge where the radius is, it's got 2 additional pieces of 3/4 inch attached to it. And then this also has a doubler plate, just to give it a little more thickness where the 1/4 inch machine screws attach it to the main structure. Those little burn marks are just from tack welds where I had everything mocked up before I tacked those plates on there. So yeah, let's go ahead and attach those, and then we'll see what it looks like. Okay, so there's the quarter panel attached to the car now on the driver's side. Go give you a little closer look. I'll show you what it looks like on the inside. So it's got 4 machine screws. I just put a couple in there now just to hold it. And that's what it looks like on the inside. This top radius, as well as the quarter window and the roof header piece, if you look close, you can see that it's it's routed out 1/8 of an inch thick, or 1/8 of an inch deep by 3/4 inches wide. And that's where the roof skin is going to go. And I'll show you that later in the video. And then the quarter panel here is going to have a trunk lid, and part of the trunk skin will be on that rotored groove that I made in there. So I'll show you that later on. So anyway, that's the roof header, the quarter window, and the quarter panel. And now I'll just go and I'll put the other quarter panel on the passenger side. And then after we do that, we'll put the firewall on, and then we'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so now we got both quarter panels installed on the car. That's what it looks like from the inside. And try to get a better shot here. It's really bad lighting in the shop, but let's see what we can do here. So now you can see the car has a little more shape to it. It's starting to look like something. And now we're going to go install the firewall. And it's fastened the exact same way. It's got machine screws and T-nuts, and it fastens to the front cowl of the structure. So yeah, let's go and do that, and then we'll see what that looks like. Okay, so we got this last, I was having a little bit of trouble getting that last screw started. So we got this last screw in here. We're going to snug this up. I only put 4 of them in now just to hold the firewall in place so I can show you how it looks fastened to the car. So let's go have a look from the front here again. So there's what the firewall looks like now. Firewall attached. I'll give you a little shot from the inside. You can see the structure. A little bit more what it looks like. Sorry for the shaky camera. I'm just kind of new at this, and I'm learning as I go. But there you can see the structure and how the inner structure and how the firewall is attached to it. And it sits flush with the floor on the outside edge, and later on this is going to have a, here I'll show you from the inside, this is going to get cut out right here for the transmission tunnel. I'll show you that down the road. We're just going to get everything together for now, and then I'll show you some more of it later. So now, after we got the firewall on, our next step is we've got a lot of smaller pieces to attach now. So our next order of business after we get the firewall installed is we've got a lot of smaller pieces here. You can see these are some profile pieces. You can see they have a radius to them, a lot of them. And I'm going to show you how these all go together again to give the car a little bit more shape. So yeah, I'll show you that right away. I'll be right back. Hey Hot Rodders, Kent here with the Backyard Coupe. So we're going to put on a few more of the wood profile pieces onto the inner structure. Excuse me. I'm going to put on the, I just call them the door pillar pieces. They go on the front and the rear of the door pillar. So you can see the one I've got on there right now. And you can see the profile. It's got a slight curve to it that gives the the body a little bit of shape other than just being square and flat. It's subtle, but it makes a big difference when it's all put together. So that's the front door pillar, and I'm gonna just screw on the rear driver's door pillar now. Let's see if I can zoom that in. It fits right underneath the quarter window on that piece of vertical tubing there. So let's go and fasten that one on. So these are fastened on with just number 8 sheet metal screws. And like I said, there's 4 of them for each piece. I'm just going to put on 2 for now and hold it in place so you can see what it looks like. And I'll get a little better close-up so you can see what's going on there. So both of those door pillar pieces, they're flush with the so the door is going to be inside here and inside here. So as you can see, it's just sitting right underneath this quarter window, and it's flush like the quarter window is as well. It's flush with this tubing. And then the front pillar piece is flush with this tubing. So there's 2 on each door, so there's 2 to be put on the other side. So I'm going to go grab those and put those on the passenger side, and I'll be right back. Hey Hot Rodders, it's Kent here with the Backyard Coupe. So I'm just going to show you a little clip of those doorpost pieces that I put on. So here they are on the project car. You can see how they're attached to the inner structure, to the, I guess you'd call that on a regular car, you'd call the front one the A pillar. And on the rear one you'd call it the B pillar, so I guess we can call it that. So there's what they look like, and I'm just going to show you on the finished car, on the finished body, what they look like. So here's the same pieces. They're fastened, and there's the steel tubing. Of course, it's painted yellow. But that is the wood profile piece, and then as you can see all in here, this is the skin. Now this is the aircraft plywood that goes over top of that A pillar profile piece there. So that would be the front, the A pillar, I guess we'll call it. And then this one's got suicide doors, so on the back one where the hinges are, we'll call that the B pillar. So you can see that profile piece is right there, attached to the steel tubing, and then back in here, back in there is the skin of the body. And it ends right about in here somewhere. And then there's the quarter window right there, which would be the same as this piece right here. Okay, so yeah, I just thought I'd show you that to make it a little bit easier to understand what's going on with all the components. Hey Hot Rodders, it's Kent here with the Backyard Coupe. So yeah, progressing along, we're going to put a few more pieces on the car. I'm going to show you here. I'm just going to zoom in. I'll move my camera a little closer. Just underneath the quarter window and by the rear quarter panel. Now these little pieces of wood that we're going to put on now are prepping the body to put a skin on the body, the finished skin, which instead of sheet metal in this case is going to be, like I mentioned before, aircraft plywood. It's really thin plywood, it's 1/8 inch, so it's going to have to, so this section right in here that you see is going to have to be skinned with that thin plywood. So in preparation of doing that, that's one of the purposes that this B-pillar piece serves. The plywood's going to be going right on top of there. So now what we need to do is we need to put a piece of wood in here and here and then on the bottom, and that has to make it so that the plywood sits flush with this quarter panel and also flush with this quarter window. So I'm going to fasten these pieces of wood here and I'll show you what they look like. They're just small pieces of fir. They're not plywood, they're solid fir lumber. Okay, so I'll attach these and I'll be right back. Hey Hot Rodders, Kent here with the Backyard Coupe. So we're going to have a look at this, these little pieces that I just installed. You can see them here. Those are just little pieces of fir lumber. They've had the holes drilled and countersunk. And they just got little sheet metal screws in them, through them, and they're attached to the tubing underneath. And some of them have washers behind them. Because now what, in effect, we're trying to do here is we're trying to lay the groundwork for, I got a little piece of plywood here. Now this isn't the plywood that I'm going to use. This is just hardboard. But it is exactly 1/8 of an inch thick. And so now you're going to see how, when that's attached, that has to be flush to the quarter window. And when it's attached, sorry about that. And when it's attached to the rear quarter panel, or next to the rear quarter panel, it also has to be flush right there. Now obviously we can do a little bit of body work with it, but we don't want a whole lot. So that's the reason for those little wood strips. The quarter panel, or sorry, the rear skin of the car here is going to be attached to those little pieces of wood, and it's going to end up looking like a little bit of a triangle, as you can see. So yeah, I just wanted to show you that detail. We'll show some more detail when we actually attach the plywood skin. Currently I don't have it right now. I just ordered it a few days ago from a place called Aircraft Spruce, and so it's on its way here right now. And that's probably the most expensive part of the car. I mean, the lumber is pretty cheap. The steel is reasonably priced, but the aircraft plywood is fairly expensive. It was around $300 for 2 sheets of full sheets of 4x8 by 1/8 inch thick, and I didn't want to cheap out on the plywood because it is the skin of the car and I don't want it delaminating or anything like that. It's used not only here, it's used on the doors, it's also used on the cowl, and it's also used on the roof, which you can see where it sits. It sits on these little dado cuts that I did with the router. They're 3/4 of an inches wide by 1/8 inch deep, and so that plywood is going to sit right in there. And of course you can always see it on the completed car, so that's the 1/8 inch skin. That's the 1/8 inch skin on the roof. The wood skin, like I said, is on the cowl, on the doors, but we're going to get to that detail later. So yeah, so now we got those pieces in. I'm going to go and do the same to the passenger side, and then after that we're going to go and we're going to do some pieces around the windshield, and I'll show you how those pieces go on. Right on the windshield area, and they actually are used to hold the glass in, the windshield glass. So I'll be right back and I'll show you that. Hey Hot Rodders, it's Kent here with the Backyard Coupe, and we're going to move on to the windshield area, and I'm going to show you a few pieces that we're going to attach there. So I've got this piece of fur, and it's going to go right up on the top header. And I'm just going to attach it with a couple screws. Okay, so you can see, I'll zoom in a little bit. You can see that top header. So now you can see that top the top windshield header, I guess we'll call it, where that piece of wood goes. And then there's also on the side of the window opening, there's a piece on that side, and then there's a side on the window opening on the left, on the passenger side, and that one fits right there. And I'm just going to show you a detail. Now these overhang the steel tubing by approximately 3/8 of an inch. And I'll show you from the inside what that looks like. So we end up with a 3/8 of an inch and 3/8 of an inch on the sides as well. So now that's going to provide a lip where the windshield will set onto. And then at a later date, I'll show you exactly how the windshield gets fastened in. But the windshield is going to be installed from the inside out. And it's going to sit on these little channels right here that I'm creating with these pieces of wood. Okay, so I'm going to finish attaching those. And then I'm going to show you some pieces that go on the dash. So I'll be right back. Okay, so now we've got the windshield pieces attached. I got the top piece and I got the side pieces. Just put 2 screws on each piece for now to hold it. And like I said, that's got that 3/8 inch lip on the inside. And it's flush with the outside edge of the tubing. I got some shadows here. It's flush with the outside edge of the tubing on each side. So now that we got those on, we're going to put another piece that makes up the outside of the dash. That's what that looks like on the inside. So I'm just going to attach that now with a couple 3 screws and we'll see what that looks like. I'll be right back. Hey Hot Rodders, Kent here with the Backyard Coupe. I'm just going to take a little footage to show you some of the shape that we've achieved now that we've got a lot of the profile pieces attached to the car. And there's a shot from the rear of the car. You can see how it's all starting to come together slowly but surely. I just wish I had a wider angle on this lens, but I guess I got to make do with what I've got. I hope you can see it not too badly. Anyways, yeah, just a little overall shot of the car. I did put a couple braces on the rear of the quarter panels. Tie them together. The only thing I will be doing is putting some heavier brackets on there with some T-nuts to actually attach them. So yeah, anyways, that's it for now. I'm going to come back and we're going to take on the next step of doing some more pieces on the dash, and then I'm going to start skinning the car and show you how that goes. So I'll be back right away soon.